Let's see. I might want to just generate some money. We can work towards some of my other goals instead of pushing forward to more things that are gonna get confusing. Not that 13 cryo is incredible. I should probably write down, like, what is my most profitable thing in the game and try to keep track of that. A lot of my jobs have dried up over time. Sealess Foundation Administration Ship. What? When did you get here? Bluff past security. The fastest way to get to know the ship is by pretending to work there. A plan so bold it might even work. Observe and explore. Careful observation and an instinct for security procedures will help you understand how to sneak on board. Infiltration versus lockdown. Okay, so it's both. Good. So I need to get 6 good before I get 3 bad in order to infiltrate the sealess ship. Well, I guess that's the thing I can spend my resources on if they don't help with my current time limit. There. I'm back to starving. Okay, let's double check. I'm so nervous about this being off camera all the time. Okay, 2 more days. Memphis is preparing the G-roll caps. He has had to heavily adapt his recipe, he says, but the smell is already incredible. It emanates from a strange purplish-white bulb you have never seen before, and he is slicing it finely. He brushes and slices the mushrooms and then places them in the wok with the sliced bulb and the oil. They caramelize there, in that well-worn crucible. He adds liquids, transparent and opaque, and then turns down the heat. A sprinkle of leaves is the final touch. We have a moment, Sleeper. He smiles. Do you have a story? Something in the scent of the food gives you a feeling of nostalgia, something distant and melancholic. It seems like the story should match that feeling somehow, and maybe you'll feel better for telling it. Recall your oldest memories. You start by explaining that when you are emulated from a person, many of your memories are left behind. Perhaps it is an intentional part of the process, a way of keeping sleepers ignorant and malleable, or perhaps it is a side effect of the imperfect emulation. You admit that you don't really know. What you do know is that some memories survive, that on occasion they come back to you, like shadows passing overhead. You detail one recurring memory, which despite returning to you with enough regularity for you to think it familiar, always fades as quickly as it arrives. You struggle to explain the feeling of being whole for a moment that comes with this memory, and then how that wholeness slips away to leave you feeling like you have forgotten something important, but just can't bring it to mind. Memphis nods throughout, cooking as he does with deft and skillful movements. You start to trail off when you realize you can't find the words to explain how the memories you do have feel like both yours and someone else's at the same time, and how that always fills you with a certain sadness. The sadness of remaining forever unknown, even to yourself. Memphis finishes cooking and meets your eye. I'm sorry, Sleeper, for your troubles. He puts the wok to one side. I appreciate you sharing with me, he smiles. I hope it lightens you a little. He passes you a bowl and heaps the G-roll into it, their yellow color mixing with the pale sauce and whorls and blooms. Eat. The dish is delicious, filling. It warms you as you eat in a way you weren't even sure your body could be warmed. It is a small mercy, you think, that S&ARP left you this pleasure. Many of the features of frames are there to simulate human experience. You know that much. Emulated minds cannot be rewired, so their need for embodied experience must be met. That is why you breathe even when you do not need air. Without the simulation, the sensation of drowning would be unbearable. Food serves another purpose. Your frame is able to metabolize it, to produce energy from the raw material. Vitamins and minerals are excess, of course. Your frame only needs raw power. So much is wasted, and yet while you eat this food and feel that warmth, nothing feels wasted. It all means something to you. As you finish, Emphas takes the bowl, the last of his cleaning. He smiles at you, and neither of you feel the need to say anything more. Instead, you simply exchange nods and walk your separate ways back into the bright market, somehow changed. Human connection. It's what we're all here for. Alright. Dice considerations. So you're still waiting here. Do you want more Matsutake broth? Emphas mentions an old recipe for Matsutake broth. All he needs are 2 handfuls of Matsutake caps, freshly sourced. I don't think I can get those yet. Okay, so let's deal with the hacking situation first, because that's the emergency. And then anything I can't apply to that, we'll see what else I can do. A 5 or a 3, so can I use the 3? Yes. So the +1 gives you one other option to use it on, but it's not necessarily... I thought it would increase the spread by 1, but it just gives you a second number, I guess. Okay. Only 1 worm remaining. Oh god. Okay, here's a 6. This one's a bit harder to get into. 5 or 3, I don't have those. 5 or 6, don't have those. Reroll. 6. Okay, better. This one's a 5 or a 3, right? And I only have a 4. And it's not like I can't go like in between those. Okay. That's good progress. We're down to the last worm, and this was like the surprise, like, this is the final boss, harder one. And we're still almost done with that one, so I think we're gonna be good. This is what, day 2 out of 6? Things are going alright. Or there. So maybe I can get the mushroom here? Unless they added it to the farm stacks? No, this is not what I was thinking of. This is a better way of getting money, though. It has a higher cap on how much money you can get, which is good. Where's my... There's the mushrooms. Yeah, they have not added the other mushrooms, so I need to get the ability to even get those, basically. Do I have a 3rd point? Nope. I guess... Yeah, get to know Emphas is an ongoing thing still. There are so many tasks. My brain gets scattered on the sheer number of things to keep track of here. Let's go ahead and work the stacks for some money. I should be able to avoid any negative outcome here. Okay, I was curious. I was like, do I lose energy even in a neutral outcome, for example? I guess I got a positive one, that didn't I? So it's hard to say still. Okay. So out of money. I wanted to see what happens if I get one of these. The only place to sleep on the hub. Capsule 0451 unlocked. You hand over the chits and get a passkey to capsule 0451. Time to find out which of the identical births is yours. 0451. Ah. Oh, is this just where I sleep now? Looks like I just unlocked a new base. Yeah, there's nothing new here, no story. That's kind of a bummer. I guess it's handy as an alternate because you might have not done the storylines that led to the other bases. It's interesting, but this game... it kind of feels designed for you to have a very fragmented, specific playthrough where you take a specific route and you miss out on all your other opportunities. And I think that might have been more poignant than what they got. But as it exists, you can do every storyline simultaneously without much difficulty, and it's even kind of built for you to just, as far as I'm aware, to just continue when you lose, or I mean when you finish the story, you can just continue and go to the other endings now. But it leads to less focus. Having a sort of pathologic style setup where time is ticking and you're missing out on entire storylines because of what you chose to invest your energy on probably would have been a bit more interesting, and it would make a bit more sense of the idea that you can like have multiple places where you get places to sleep, because it's like, all things considered, I don't even have that much reason to have the one with the cat. Like, it's nice to have your in story terms, it's good to have your own home, and you're like, oh, here I go, I have my own home, look at me go. And it's better than being in a shipping container. But mechanically, it doesn't give you like more rest or anything. It just makes you not have to scroll as far, but that doesn't really matter when they keep adding stuff on all sides of the map anyway. And travel time is not a consideration in this game, so it's just the user experience of scrolling around for a bit. I don't know. There's ways where I would try to iterate on this if I could. And also that all probably is all scary and difficult and all that, so you know. There's a lot of reasons why it would be a huge pain in the ass. I've been fooling around just trying to write a script for a visual novel just to see if I can. And that's not even a video game in many ways. We're not there yet. It's tomorrow, I guess. Alright, well that was disappointing. I threw my money away, and I'll probably never use that bet again. Not unless the story comes up with some reason why I lose this or that house, because that's my third place I can sleep now. Tala comes to you one shift, when the bar is empty, tapping you on the shoulder as you clean the bar. See, I kind of like the idea of a storyline where you have to escape the bounty hunter that's coming after you, and so you end up abandoning your home to stay at Tala's. I thought that was where the story was going, because she's so welcoming to you, and even like protective of you, and we had that point in the story where that one guy with the blonde hair was coming after us, and the other guy was saying, oh, I can disable, Feng was saying he could disable our tracker, so I thought, oh, okay. Well, I've blown it now. There was like an escalating problem, and so at one point, he never knew where you lived yet. But once he gets there, he confronts you at your home, so you're like, oh fuck, even if I disable the tracker, he knows the only place I can sleep. And so the idea that Feng would disable your tracker and then you would go off to Tala's as your like temporary home was like a compelling idea in my head. But in universe, what was really happening is that they had a really specific story they wanted to tell with that bounty hunter, and so it kind of just all plays out, and you getting your tracker disabled by Feng seems to be a completely unreasonable task to do before that guy arrives, because look how long this quest chain is. It is not, he kind of like bait and switches you because he does not reward you with that thing when you do the first task. It's like an endless series of tasks where he keeps not doing it, and it's kind of dickish, honestly. I don't know. I like the stories in this game and the writing and the visuals and so on. There's just like elements where I'm like, of the part where it's an actual game and where the where it seems like some of the stories should go, or where they promise a threat and then it kind of isn't one, that I'm more iffy on, like the hunter and the bounty hunter, or two separate, like, these are things that can genuinely fuck you up, but they kind of didn't. It's ready. She's grinning from ear to ear. The G-roll? Obviously. She grabs you by the arm before you can ask anything else and drags you into the back room. The smell hits you immediately when you enter, a cocktail of rich fermentation and chemical sharpness. The room is warm and bright now, the newly installed lights making their place look clean, whether it is or not. Tala has already pulled a couple of stools around a metal crate, where two glasses with a few fingers of pale G-roll inside sit waiting. As somebody who's not used to drinking, having them referred to as fingers is always weird to me. But it's like how deep the amount poured in the shot glass is, I think. Like knuckles, essentially. I don't know the exact meaning of why it's called that. She smiles. I haven't even tried it yet. You can see she's nervous. Could be poison. You both sit at the makeshift table, the slight strangeness of the situation making you both jumpy. Tala hands you a glass. Cheers, she says solemnly, and knocks the glass back. You do the same. The first sensation is burning. A sharp, nose-clearing blast of alcohol that has your frame querying whether you would like to activate safe mode. You gulp the drink back, and it is only then, behind the burn, that you taste the earthy tones of the mushrooms, the wood and the soil, left behind like sediment, barely there. That's strong? Tala nods vigorously. Woof, that was heavy. As promised, though. You think? She swirls the glass and puts it down. Wait, I have an idea. Tala grabs a metal bottle from the newly installed work surface and adds a few drops of water to the G-roll. Try again? This time the burn is a warming glow, harsh but fading off, and the woodiness less heavy. You taste something floral among the marshy decay, something fresh and bright that you never expected to find. Both you and Tala meet eyes. It's really good, right? It is. Tala grins with her whole face, and that makes you smile too. Tala pours out some more G-roll, and then adds some more water, the actions already taking on the quality of a ritual. You both drink. Tala tucks her feet up beneath her on the stool, folding her legs. She looks down into her glass and swirls the liquid thoughtfully. What's on your mind? Tala looks back up at nothing in particular. My father opened this place, you know? She says out of nowhere, a thought suddenly becoming words. It was his attempt at making a life for us, for my family, when we got to the Eye. You were refugees? From Sinza, yeah. It's one of Ember's moons. She takes a drink. I don't remember much. I was only tiny when we came. I was just thinking about something my father told me. When he first set this place up, he wanted to call it the Bantayan, but he was afraid it'd scare off the customers, so he kind of translated it, hence the Overlook. In these past few cycles, when I've been in here, I've been thinking that I should rename this place. She looks at you. The Bantayan. What do you think? What does it mean? Dad said he translated it to Overlook, so something like that. Watchtower, maybe? Lookout? Tala picks up her glass. That settles it then. To the Bantayan. You both clink your glasses and drink up. Tala hisses through her teeth. Still harsh, she laughs, then suddenly grabs your shoulder. Oh, sleeper. I totally forgot. She stumbles to her feet. She lurches over to the counter of the room, covered with a plastic sheet, and whips it off, like a magician performing a trick. Beneath it is a little kitchen, a sink, a work surface, and a compact oven with a hob. Your kitchen! She doesn't give you time to respond. You can make stuff here anytime as long as you promise not to raid the mushroom farm. I need those for the G-roll. I was thinking, too, that if things pick up, we can start serving proper food out of the the Bantayan. He laughs. Do you like it? It's perfect. Tala gives you a hug, then quickly stands back. I'm sorry, I'm so glad you're here. She grins. Me too. As Tala tittles away the glasses, you inspect the kitchen, checking that it all works. It's small and salvaged, but after what you've had to put up with, it feels like a dream come true. Later, when she's done for the day, Tala comes back through the bar, and you share a glass of the G-roll, the one she didn't distill. At this time, you talk about nothing in particular, sharing stories about regulars or discussing the best place to eat on the Eye, which, after everything that's happened, feels like a nice change of pace. When it comes time to leave, you promise to cook for Tala, and agree to let her know which shifts you'll be working in the coming cycles, and then slip out into the cool of the rotunda. And in this moment you feel, for once, at home. Yay. We finished a thing. Should I get better at? I think since you get energy from engage actions, it doesn't hurt to have more engage. That's further incentive to do the action that leads to getting bonus energy too. Ba-doop-ba-doop. I'm paranoid and I gotta double check. Is it still the same day? It's easy to lose track of days. Yeah, okay. Time to put all my resources towards hacking. I need a 5 and I've got a 5. There we go. A thread from the facility cuts through the cloud like a hairline crack of light. That's it. The final layer of security broken. Somewhere, buried in the depths of the station, Feng is in control. He is slicing into the camera control circuits and piping out the result. The thread flickers and unravels into an image, a scene. 2 figures in a room, one sat, the other pacing. The pacing figure resolves into Hardin, the unmistakable superior posture, the shock of gray hair. The second figure's features don't seem to resolve. They're vague, unformed. A problem with the data, perhaps? You look closer. Then you see it. The figure is a proxy. Perhaps you should have expected it from Conway, a corporation whose very existence is owed to automation. The proxy is a machine, designed to be piloted by remote connection. Someone elsewhere in the system, puppeteering it with their own body, speaking so it may speak. The proxy sits impassively, or the Conway executive that is piloting them does, from the distant safety of some ship or orbital colony, perhaps. We can move forward. There's no doubt, Hardin is saying. The reclamation teams are almost ready, and after that, I will make the declaration. Nothing has to change. The proxy leans forward, its movements stilted, uneven, as if its body was being refracted through the water. But things must change, Hardin. We need further assurances. I have been informed of a breach in one of the closed networks in the low end. You have been careless. Hardin waves the accusation away. We have been stretched. A breach was detected, yes, but no data of value was lost. Our board is concerned, Hardin. A drop in our value would be unwelcome at this time. The proxy leans back, its posture dominant. If the reclamation of A1 is contested, then we could be drawn into a compromising legal position. Hardin approaches the proxy. There will be no contest, not from Solheim, who cannot muster a defense, not from Havenage, who will fall into line below me. He crouches in front of the seated figure, eye to eye. And the people of this station? Refugees, gangs, spacers, all either opportunists or degenerates. Havenage is no longer strong, no longer united. I think he's still talking. Havenage is no longer strong, no longer united. No one here believes in Erlin's vision, nor has the strength to enact it. I sat across from him at the negotiating table. He was forceful, eager, weakened by his ideological convictions, perhaps, but a great man nonetheless. This place no longer deserves to bear his name. The eye is crippled. It cannot survive. It is a ruin filled with squatters and outlaws. They will be lucky if it still spins in 100 cycles. Hardin stands. You will move forward with the reclamation because otherwise you will lose your advantage in the system. Without your advantage, you will lose claims on the remaining palladium. Without the palladium, your factories will go dark. He pauses. Do I need to continue? One moment, comes the response from the proxy, and its head drops to its chest. Hardin steps back and paces once more, awaiting the discussion taking place elsewhere in the system. You watch Hardin as he paces, as he considers his future. What goes on within a mind like that? In the mind of a man who would burn all those around him for a path to some imagined golden end. The proxy lifts his head. We are happy to proceed. We will legally claim the station formerly known as Solheim AE1 in salvage within 6 cycles. Havenage is to assist with the transport of the illegal residences to Conway housing and labor facilities. Oh boy. They're gonna put people into camps. And they're gonna salvage this entire station in 6 cycles? That's a problem. The proxy judders to its feet. Conway will also claim 70% of the raw output of the reclamation process, after losses have been accounted for. Hardin nods. I accept. The proxy reaches out to shake his hand like a marionette, and then the recording loops. You watch it play out a second time, gripped by a horrified fascination. There's a bluntness to the conversation, to its blatant disregard for the humans as anything other than objects. Things to be moved, to be used, to be fed into structures, crushed and losses accounted for in the cells of tables, the margins of ledgers. You realize now that you are no different than anyone else in the station, in the eyes of the people that room, and those like them. Each body here could be recast as a piece of property, a tool, an expense, an acceptable loss. In one moment, they can be named a citizen, celebrated, protected, and in another, the very idea of citizenship can be used against them. That is what it means to live in proximity to a system like this. No longer. Not while the eye spins. You gather the recording, pack it into a polygon of purest light. Then you drift down into the service dock like a falling leaf and find the relay. It only takes a second to place that polygon of data, that recording, into the relay system Feng prepared, and then you watch as it bursts out, a web of threads heading out into the black, to every network device on the eye. Let them see what power makes of a man.
Oh boy!
there's gonna be some riots soon. People are going to be extremely displeased. Ooh. So when are you gonna disable my fucking tracker, bud? Wait for Feng to return. Bud? Bro? Dudester? 2 days. Intuit and engage. Oh. This one's dangerous, but it has a higher... Okay. Bluff past security has a 100% chance of instantly locking the, instantly failing if you don't have a successful outcome. So let's... But I can do... I have a +2 here, so I can destroy this. I think I can succeed at this entire action today. This will become a 6 also? Oh, it's a critical action. I can only do it once. Gotcha. Critical actions are surprisingly rare. Alright. Well, we're almost there. There's a lot to wait, though. You say upgrades are available, but I do not think that means what you think it means. I have 1 point, but the lowest cost thing is 2 points. Just feel like you shouldn't lie to me, game. Alright. Feed the cat. Feeling worse every day. Oh boy. Big event. You know, just to be safe, I should back up my save. There. Playthrough is safe. I think. Ah, put me back down here. What was that? Red thing? Oh, Feng tomorrow, right. I feel like they still have not ever addressed the question of how I'm going to survive on this trip. Which is kind of a big deal. You'd think that'd be constantly on their mind, because it's like, this is the meter on the top of the screen the entire game. There is a crowd, but you spot Lem and Mina immediately as you enter the dock. They are anchored, like everyone else, along the viewing platform, watching the final stages of the Sidereal Horizon's loading and preparation. Lem. He turns and searches nervously through the faces to see who called. Then he spots you when a weak smile passes across his face. You move up and join him on the platform. We decide to come watch in the end. He nods at a sleepy-looking Mina whose bright eyes are locked on the yellow hull of the Sidereal Horizon. Meanie wouldn't let me stay away. I'm glad. Lem smiles again. I wasn't sure if I'd see you up here. Mina turns to you and flashes you a small smile too. You three watch the ship for a while, in the same hushed state as most of the crowd. All the anger seems to have faded out of those who didn't make the crew. Perhaps down in the low end, the tambour is full of angry workers, drunkenly denouncing Sealess. But up here, the atmosphere is reflective, somewhere between a funeral and a ritual. I didn't mess up, did I? Whoops. That's what the ship at the bottom is for. I got mixed up with all the tasks and I forgot I had to do something in order for this story. That's why the ship is suddenly here. Whoops. Good thing I have the plenty with which to comp. Nope. There we go. I'm plenty capable of solving it, thankfully. Man, this... It gets hard to keep track of everything. I almost wonder if they expect you to be only accomplishing one goal at a time, and then just working all day with the rest of your stuff. Like, just working on your income and stuff. Which would make sense if the game was a more hardcore survival situation that was difficult to get through. But instead, there's so many simultaneous storylines that I lose track of what's happening. Oh god, okay. Let's just go all in. It's a big task, and it has to work right now. You find the data, but sitting right beside you there's a cache of crypto. You take both. Too easy. I make money! Didn't it say plus 53? I only have 47. Okay, I probably have to go back to, what's his name now? Bantayan. Castor. When you arrive at Lemon Mina's unit, Castor's already waiting outside, leaning beside the door. Forgive me, Sleeper, but Silas is already buzzing with news of the breach. I was expecting you. I don't like you tracking me. That is unfortunate, Sleeper, because that is exactly what I will be doing for the foreseeable future. Castor reaches into a pocket and produces a sleek green and white hand terminal. The data, please. What is that? Something I acquired from Silas while you were busy on that ship. Castor pushes up his glasses. I haven't been waiting for you the entire time. You hand over a drive with the data, and Castor fishes around for a converter cable to hook it up. He slots it into the terminal, and after some whirring, a set of 2 transparent films, marked with numeric sequences, are produced. 2 tickets to an uncertain future. Castor smiles to himself. The child will go with Lem, of course. He pockets them. These are yours. But first, he holds out a white cube. Your side of the deal. What is it? Something to help us make use of you. He passes you the square and you rest it in your palm, a small, white, perfect cube. Suddenly you feel a sharp pain and flinch. The cube jumps from your hand and rattles along the walkway. You look at Castor apologetically. Castor smiles. Not to worry. It has done its job. Now it is for you to do yours. You look down. You see a tiny pinprick in the center of your palm. Nothing sinister. Castor pulls the terminal away. This way we can keep track of you and the Sidereal horizon. I didn't agree to this. You did, Sleeper. Castor adjusts his glasses. You have to understand that I could have done this without you knowing. This way, everything is on the table, so to speak. Castor hands you the transparent films, and you see shimmering portraits of you and Lem flickering beneath the surface. Go. Give them the good news. And he reaches across and buzzes the unit. Lem slides open the door, half dressed in his gear. Sleeper, what brings you up here? Come in. He beckons you inside. You look to the side expecting to see Castor, but the wall is empty. The unit is cleaner, better organized than last time. Lem sits at the thin bar and gestures for you to sit. Mina's with some of the local kids. Someone has started doing lessons down the way. She seems to like it. Sit. You sit at the bar. What's up, Sleeper? I have some news. Out with it then, Lem laughs. I have Silas IDs for us. You have... Lem freezes. How? He blinks rapidly as if to wipe you from his vision. Does that mean we're leaving? Lem stands up and paces around the unit. We have to pack. He starts Holy shit, we have to pack. He turns back to you, smiling. How the hell did you swing this, sleeper? I made a deal. I made a... water. I made a deal. What a deal! Color me impressed. You show him the ID films. He whistles at the portraits. Impressive stuff. He pats you on the shoulder. We should stay until Mina gets home. We can tell her together. I just noticed that the game doesn't show your responses in the text feed, which maybe it should, if it's supposed to be a history of what you've been saying. Sure. The buzzer goes. That'll be her. Lem gets up and opens the door, and Mina, the bundle of energy and life, rushes into the room. Robot! She shouts. Lem picks her up. Mina, you won't believe what they brought us. You flash her the passes. She looks confused. We're going away after all, Meanie. He lifts her up above her head, on that big, beautiful ship. Mina screams and Lem laughs. He puts Mina down and she runs over to you and hugs your leg. I love you, robot, she says quietly, so only you can hear. I love you too. And after a while later, when you leave, you don't even think to check for Castor by the door until it's too late. You stop and turn, halfway down the walkway, but there's nothing there. Even that little white cube is gone. So you keep walking, back to the low end, deep in thought, excited and scared all at once. Oh boy. Are y'all ready for steaks? There's a crowd, but you spot Lem and Mina immediately as you enter the dock. They are waiting at the cordon, where CS security are checking the crew in to board the ship. Those that manage to get up to the hub are crowded near the entrance, but they know their chance of getting on board is long gone. Lem. Lem spots you among the crowd. Sleeper, we are here. They are standing beside a bag which looks to carry all the possessions they have. It's small enough to be carried in one hand. Hi, Mina. Mina is vibrating with excitement. She seems strangely at home in microgravity, but then you remember that she has spent her whole life in space. Hi, robot. You hand over the sealess ID film to Lem, keeping your own. He turns it back and forth in the light. Where did your friend even get this picture, Sleeper? Looks like my old Conway ID. You look, and a shimmering, younger Lem stares out of the film, harder and clean cut. I spoke to the guard here. He nods to the white and green clad security officer. They'll be doing orientation and role assignment on board. Sounds like we're going to be working under the core crew. Kind of like an intern. He laughs. What do you think, Meanie? Am I too old to be an intern? Following Lem's lead, you inspect your ID. As you lift the film up to the light, you see something strange. Something that makes you flinch. The face printed in the film is one you recognize immediately, but it is not you. At least it is not how you look now. You squint at this ghost, confused why you hadn't noticed earlier. It is a picture you remember being taken, a memory that you didn't know you had. You remember signing the forms, the walk to the sleeper tanks, the cold metal floor. You remember the S&ARP employee who helped you in, her smile clean and surgical. You freeze in place, thinking of the you that still sleeps somewhere in S&ARP facility, that won't wake until you're recovered and disposed of. And now you're leaving. Will they ever wake up? Sleeper? Lem interrupts your thoughts. These guys want us to board. You stare at him without thinking. Then notice the guard gesturing to you both to come forward. You all kick off and float over to them, steadying yourselves on the guardrail. You hang back, letting Lem present his ID film first. The guard slides it across a white machine, much like the one Castor printed them from. You reflexively rub the puncture mark on your hand, even though there's no trace of it now. It seems to be your destiny to be someone else's tool. Lem and Mina are waved through, the guard smiling at her excited face. Lem turns back to check that you are coming. The guard beckons you closer. Bored. You shake off your doubts and hand over your ID film. The guard barely looks at it as they pass it through the scanner and wave you through. A new life, built from old things. You okay? Lem asks, concerned, as you catch up with them. You are so slow, robot, Mina teases, grabbing at you with small hands. Just making sure. Lem nods, and you realize how much harder it must have been for him to cross that threshold. Mina struggles in his arms, trying to get to you, and Lem relents, struggling with both the bag and his daughter. Mina tumbles through microgravity and grabs onto your clothes for purchase, pulling herself into your arms. You all proceed up the walkway, the entrance to the docking bridge yawning wide and above you. Are we family, robot? Mina asks you as you move, taking you by surprise. I guess so. Mina smiles and presses her head against your chest, pleased by your answer. You keep moving, up into the docking bridge, then along the thin, glass-walled connector, all the time Mina clutching onto you. The lack of gravity means you can't feel her weight, only the grip of her small hands on your clothes. You both stare wide-eyed at the vast whole of the sidereal horizon, and try to think of this huge machine as a home. Later, when you settle into your bunk, after Mina has finished running back and forth between you and Lem with an endless and infectious excitement, you find yourself looking at your ID film once more. Somehow, since the last time you looked at it, the image seems to have changed. It is still a picture of the old you, the person that signed up to have your consciousness copied and placed into the ownership of Essenarp. But something else has crept into the image, an underlying sense of self-identification. This is also a picture of you. You now. The you that survived the Eye, that made friends here, that found a way out, that escaped against all odds. The other you might never wake up. They might never live again. But so be it. They considered you a doomed life for their own gain. Their life is yours now. You will live it better than they ever could. You lie back on your bunk as the thrust of the Sidereal's vast engines kick in. This feeling, this rumble, with your constant companion for the next will be your constant companion for the next decades. It will be there when you work, when you watch Mina grow, when you dream of the planet at the end of the journey. It will stay with you when your body starts to fail, despite the best attempts of Lem and Mina, as the years stack up, and it exceeds its safe operating period by a decade. It will be the thing you wake up to in those rare moments of consciousness, between which Mina will keep you in a frozen state in the hope of preserving you until your destination is reached. It will still be there when Mina wakes you, tears in her eyes to tell you of Lem's inevitable death. And it will not relent, despite your desire for a moment of silence. It will be the final thing you hear, as Mina shuts down all but the most vital of your functions, and hopes beyond hope that you will make it to your final destination, all the while doubting that you will. But for now, in this moment of departure, it is still a new sound, a new feeling, and because of this, it is filled with the promise of a future. And so, you settle back onto your bunk and close your eyes, and in moments, you are sleeping in a perfect, dreamless sleep, the most peaceful that you can ever remember. Brutal. That was really sad at the end. And it's what I expected, but I didn't realize it was going to be fully described in detail the way that it was. It was implied. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure that Lem doesn't survive this trip because we're not on the part of the crew that gets frozen. We get to work it. I've had a few pieces of fiction where there's like the people that have to work the ship and they don't get to live throughout the whole thing. Like there was even a TV show about people who were born on a spaceship and it's going to arrive, only their grandchildren or the grandchildren of the original people who left would be the ones that arrived, because there was no cryo in that storyline. So the original people that left would die, but they would have children, and their children would run the ship, and then those people would have children, and then those people's children would then be the ones that actually arrived. And so there's a whole middle generation that never gets to know Earth or their destination and just knows the ship forever. And that is just one hell of a setup for a story. That show gets weird though. That show gets very weird with its premise, and does not fully commit. That was a bummer. So that's the first ending. There's more, obviously. We have all these, entire parts of the game's map were irrelevant to the arc that you take to get to here, because this was all about Lem and that one. Because we work at the shipyard, then for the Sidereal Horizon, and then we work with Lem, and then you meet with Castor, and that's pretty much it. Everything else was superfluous to this ending, but that's because there's just so many different directions it's going in. I also think there's like a kind of there's a background noise to the metaphor here, I feel like, because there's this element of like, I think about the phrase that people think about it being the hardest thing in the world to imagine a world behind capitalism, like beyond capitalism, like after the end of it. Like there's this idea that it's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. And it's like, this feels like an ending where you just give in. Like you find hope and you do what you can within what is allowed of you, but you very much are still being controlled by people, you're still being tracked by people, you're being sent on a mission that itself is another form of control for the people that are going to be sent there. You're enabling this thing that is somebody else's power move, essentially, and you won't survive to see the consequences of it, but you will be consumed in the act of reinforcing and providing for that other person's plan. Someone you've never even met before. I don't mean Castor, I mean the person doing the actual mission. And although Castor has his own interests, like it's essentially an ending about finding peace within the system and just riding it out and doing what you can to just have a life regardless, because there's a resignation to the fact that like you just can't fix or change everything that's not good in the world, and that's not exactly a coward's like response. It's often the realistic response, this resignation. I do feel like they definitely just threw the entire premise of me needing an injection like every 20 days or whatever just out the window and did not acknowledge that at all. Like the entire end, as far as I can tell, there's a gaping plot hole in that ending. Like they told the ending they wanted to tell, but like the number one core thing introduced about sleepers is that thing, and the fact that, you know, this is the fate of the person that is sleeping. But like they acknowledged the part about the other person, the original person, but they didn't acknowledge the part where I need to stay alive. So it's a bit of a gap. But there's a noticeable, interesting thing here, which is that spoilers for the movie Us, I guess. I'm not going to talk about anything else. I'm going to wrap up this episode. We're already over time anyway, but I'm going to spoil Us to discuss this, because this is kind of what Us is about. The movie Us. It's good. You should watch the movie Us. It's from the guy that made Get Out, and then went on to make Nope. Was that what? Yeah, it was called Nope. I saw that in theaters. A rare theater day. But in Us, it is revealed that there is this entire second copy of every single person in the world, and they all live underground, and it's this like it's this acknowledgement of the darkness in what people go through. This is why I write scripts for my video essays, because it's hard to just like phrase this all articulately on the fly. But like, modern capitalist society exists as an exploitative process. Everything from like your electronics, your clothes, everything that I'd used for this job relies on varying levels of human exploitation on a regular basis, like the chip manufacturing, my fucking jeans, the entire process and villages and whatnot involved in just the very concept of gene production and so on. It's just like a whole thing you can get into. Like every now and then somebody will take the exhaustive process of actually trying to analyze where every product, like just that they're wearing, comes from and how that works. And it's not a happy story in a lot of cases. And a lot of modern life in the West is not thinking about that and like repressing those thoughts, and often not, and it's like, it's not even about, I'm not even here to point fingers and so on, like I'm in here, and like we don't have, it's like it's unfathomably complex, and we generally don't have the power to change it as individuals, but it's there. And so like this is extracted into a metaphor in us by just having just a literal second person that is a copy of that person just be in the world there as the exploited class of, frankly, whatever the fuck was happening in the upside down part of not the upside down, that's Stranger Things, but you know what I mean if I say the upside down, for in the context of Us, if you've seen it. And in Us, specifically, you discover that one of the people in the upside down was swapped for one of the people in the regular world, and like they're functionally identical people. It's not like one of them was better or more deserving than the other one, or a different like type of human, despite the initial presentation of the other group. Like that's just the nature of what they were, like their environment was, not the core like biological individual or whatever. Like that's not a thing. There are not inherently superior and inferior classes of human in that way. And so that person, when that is revealed, there were hints in the story that was the case, but there was no intrinsic reason why she would have actually deserved to have lived in the other side or anything. And so there's just this aspect. And so like I see that as being what Citizen Sleeper's riffing on, because of the fact that there is specifically this, you have the sleeper, okay, I can't say that because everyone calls me a sleeper, but the one that's actually sleeping, the real original person or whatever, like they are relying on the labor and exploitation of this other individual they'll never meet in order to further themselves. And it's a really complicated thing because like it's likely that anybody desperate enough to become a sleeper is probably not in a great place themselves, because yeah, like there's not like part of why being 100% moral in all of your sourcing and whatnot is such an iffy concept in the first place is because generally speaking, those of us in the society that is doing the most exploiting do not have the power, the income, the mobility, the knowledge, and the influence to actually be able to live what would ever be like determined to be like the most moral life. Like there's like the process of actually trying to wash your hands of all this is so beyond reason that you kind of just can't. And so like and that reflects the idea like this, like I'm sure that the person doing the sleeping did not want to give up an arbitrary piece of their life. Like this person presumably wakes up the same age, but the world leaves them. If they're gone for a year, if they're gone for 30 years, that they don't know what what life they're gonna wake up to. And that's like an insane concept. Like because that person goes to their own level of exploitation, because exploitation exists here in our world just as much, or in its own different ways. And so like there's no like, it's a tragic story because it's a very much a story about the systems that exploit these people, and not the idea that one or the other half of the sleeper is the good guy or the bad guy. as much as they are, even in the narration, pitted against each other in this villainous sort of way. Like the way that this person was like, I will live a better life than they would have, and so on. Our sleeper specifically does villainize the other sleeper and has reason to be resentful, but neither of them are really the one that did anything wrong, or at least not. It's a mess. But anyway, this is a long episode because I had a podcast. I did a little moment here. Do I need to write about this game? God damn. No, don't stop. Don't add more to-do list things. Don't do that. Please. All right, see you guys later.